I don't actually know the first time that we met.
Nah, I don't.
I can't remember.
You don't?
You weren't memorable at all. No, I'm joking.
But it would have just been like a lift back or a lift
Yeah.
two, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we would have met before that, and then our parents would have spoke, and then everyone was like, "Oh, you live in Greenwich?
Yeah.
Oh, you live in Greenwich too?
Yeah.
Let's share lifts and make it easier for everyone."
Yeah.
Because we'd go down a lot of times each week.
But you started a
4
lot.
times, 5 times in a week.
Yeah.
I started before you.
Easy.
So
But just because I'm
I
older.
reckon like four times in a week, and then club run would be like separate. But the
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday advanced or Derny sometimes.
yeah, and then Friday turbo
Friday.
or youth session.
Yeah.
Saturday we
Saturday open sometimes.
and then Sunday club run.
Yeah. I didn't do many club runs though.
Yeah, you did.
Did I? I don't think I did. They're not as many as others, I don't think.
That was my favorite thing of the week. Club run.
I just didn't like getting back so late.
Yeah.
If we get back at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
So what was the routine like back then, as a youngster when you started for the first couple of years at least?
Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like, I don't know, it doesn't start off like must do this, but you just spend so much time down there, then you just always go down there.
Yeah. But you did have like schedules.
Yeah, I
there's
think
set
I
training
started
sessions.
slightly different. I started because I saw it at the Olympic test event in 2011, and I was like, I want to be like Chris Hoy or Trot or whoever I saw at that race.
Joanna Rousel.
Yeah,
She was smashing it then.
Victoria Pendleton. And so I came to the track with like an intention to be good, rather than like intention to have like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I ended up having a lot of fun. Whereas I feel like because you started a lot younger.
I started off mountain biking.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I first started going down there.
How did that go?
Well, like my brother went down,
Uh-huh.
and he's 6 years older. So I was always like kind of like dragged along as a kid, but like never did anything apart from poodle around on a little bike. But then I was with Herne Hill Youth first, doing the mountain biking around the back.
Traitor.
With Hayden smashing it around on his beautiful Scott mountain bike. And I was always a bit nervous or cautious with the track. I remember John Brooks having a go at me in one training session. He was like, "In 2 laps, you've looked over your shoulder 50 times." And I was like, "It's a bad thing." Like, yeah, like it's unnecessary, but. And then just tried it out and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I remember the first bike. I don't remember when we first met, but I remember my first bike at the track. One of the Peugeots, the little Peugeot track bikes, the silver ones.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Do you still have it?
No, it's
like a rental, right?
Yeah, but they don't. We don't have those ones anymore.
Really? I got
I still say we as if,
Fuji
like
from as if you're still a coach there. I got a Fuji from Phil Wright. He like set me up with one. He was so nice. And then I can remember that feeling because it's not often you get a new bike, but because of the rentals, it felt like you were getting a new bike. And I put that. Do you remember my green bar tape and green saddle? Yeah. I just put I don't know why. It was like fluorescent green.
Yeah, but green's cool when you're young. I painted my bedroom bright green.
Really?
When I was a kid. Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't look good.
Even my first road bike was from Herne Hill Youth. One of the decathlon ones, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But I guess
I had like a
green,
red
is a good,
beeping.
Triple up the front. Yeah.
green is a good color because it's visible.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
high
yeah.
vis green. That's what.
Yeah.
It was like
Nuclear green.
Yeah.
It's out of necessity, not fashion,
Bleeding uranium.
maybe. But you did like it, so
yeah.
back then at least. But then how so for you it started as an obsession to get better, but you ended up having fun anyway.
Well, not to get better. I just wanted to be like.
You know what?
Be like the hero
wants to be the
at the
best,
time.
basically. Like how people who like football wants to be like David Beckham or
Exactly.
whatever. Like,
Yeah.
they're my heroes.
Exactly.
Yeah. How did it like?
Yeah, because when we were that age, like GB cycling was at its like peak.
Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So,
like
like,
Cavendish, Wiggins.
I remember in 2012 after track cycling and that Friday kids session at the
Jeez,
track
like
would have like
quadrupled
60, 70
yeah.
people showing up to want to ride every single week.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
It's booming.
Yeah.
Booming. First year Wiggins won the tour.
Yeah, and then he won the time trial like straight after, and then like Cav had already like dominated for a few years, and
just like golden era. So like when you're like we were I was 13, you would have been what, 11?
Yeah.
So it's like
I would have been 20. I would have been. I would have been 22. Yeah, I don't even remember what I was into. In 20. Yeah, but yeah, obviously, like everything is a bit different now. You grew. You're a different person. Like you, Finley. You focus a lot on documentation, but how do you think it affects you as a cyclist? Like seeing like you love for Team Amani and you did Badlands, so you did all of that stuff. You went on a lot of adventures for the past, I don't know now, like since you quit. What was your team again?
Trinity.
Trinity.
Yeah. I think the only session that I really, or like the only times that I really loved cycling was when like loved it for no other reason other than because I was happy, not because I was like achieving something or getting better.
Yeah.
And like that satisfaction. If you remove that, the only times that I really enjoyed it were like when we were all as a big group on the track, or it was like a big club run where I'd be going to places without my parents.
Yeah.
You know, in a group of people that were older than me and like trying to keep up. So go on rides with like Fred, Ethan, who are all like two or three years older.
Yeah, they're my year.
Yeah, and like really, just feeling like a sense of freedom and adventure.
Yeah.
And I think that once I realized when I stopped racing, it was like, oh, okay, those are the only bits that I want to keep. You know, I don't want to keep that pressure to keep improving and like the satisfaction for completing a session, because that also comes with a lot of baggage of like when you don't complete the session or when you don't feel quite as good as you did, then it's like a lot of your self-worth is dependent on that. But I say that as if that's behind me. Like I still get on a bike and expect a lot from myself. But yeah, my primary way of enjoying riding is going on. It was bikepacking trips. I just love bikepacking. I love the feeling of going from place to place. Like the last couple of days when we weren't going far or particularly fast, but like it felt really good to be arriving in a different place each day and having a purpose for the riding in that sense.
Yeah. What was your favorite bikepacking trip?
It's a good question. I think it's got to be, and I apologise for this, because me and Brew have gone on a lot of bikepacking trips. The one I'm about to say isn't one that we've been on together. But I think it's got to be the one where I went with Marin and Kenneth.
Oh, yeah.
From Switzerland.
Yeah, Geneva to Girona.
Yeah.
But I actually rode from London to Paris first. So I did like 3 days by myself, which was really nice, like quite long days. And then took the bus from Paris to Geneva, and then we rode from Geneva to Girona.
Yeah.
And that was good because we were with Kenneth, one of the Team Amani riders from Kenya. And he was experiencing all these things like for the first time, like bikepacking like that for the first time. You know, we left Switzerland and he didn't have a rain jacket and he forgot his passport, so we had to turn around and go back. It was like that, you know. So that was a lot of fun, and then obviously Marin has like won some big backpacking. Like he knew exactly what he was doing. He's French. We were riding from France most of the time. So it was a really like it was a very unique mix of us, and yeah, it's just a nice route. We took it slow. We didn't have no time pressure. It was just fun.
How long did you know those two before you start bikepacking together?
I didn't actually know Kenneth that well at that point.
Was that at the beginning of your journey with Amani, basically?
No. That was Oh, yeah, that was a good bikepacking trip. In Switzerland, yeah, that was like the first time I'd gone bikepacking. I was still riding for Trinity, and
okay.
me, Marin, and then like all the Amani riders. That was the first time I really got to spend
Ah,
time with them in 2021 towards the
yeah,
end.
yeah,
That was really good. We rode to a race 3 days,
yeah.
and it was most of their first time bikepacking.
What race was it?
Tracker
Tracker?
Gravel Epic,
Gravel Epic.
yeah, in Switzerland. But anyway, yeah, that was my first time like properly spending time with the Amani guys.
Yeah.
Sleeping in Michael's basement, the guy that runs or like he calls himself head cheerleader, but yeah, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
But realistically,
Yeah.
he runs the team Amani
Yeah.
alongside Sule at the time.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. I understand that sometimes it's kind of tricky to pick up favorites of like
Yeah, they're also
anything
different,
really,
right?
because well, you said the one that you did with Marin and Kenneth was really nice, but also your first backpacking trip was very memorable. So
Yeah.
like yeah, what about you? Like how what was like before you start mind map?
You've done one really long bikepacking trip, haven't you?
It's just the one.
Like before
Yeah.
that, what was your relationship like with bikepacking trips in general?
The first one I did was the Land's End to John O'Groats in the UK, which is like down in Cornwall up to the northern tip of like mainland Scotland.
Mhm.
And I did love that.
Yeah.
I remember getting on the train in Eltham, like going to, I think I had to get to like Pancras or something to go down to get the train to
Pancras.
Cornwall, St Pancras. Pancras.
Pancras.
And like, oh, I was just so excited.
Yeah.
I remember I started riding and I was like, oh, like, yeah.
Was it solo trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
had spreadsheets for that trip.
Yeah. Well, because I wasn't camping. Like the distance was kind of the challenge that I wanted to put myself with.
Yeah.
So I was doing like 250 to 300k. Yeah, maybe like on average like 250k a day.
Okay.
And that was like furthest I'd ever gone. I think I did about 9 days, 10 days because I took a longer route up in Scotland.
Okay.
So I had spreadsheets because I had to know like exactly where I was going to stop for each
Yeah.
night. I had to like have that all planned. And that was just it was so good. And it was the hottest week of the year, just by chance that week.
Yeah.
And I remember like being up in like the Lake District, like by Lake Windermere, like jersey unzipped, like hot wind blowing. I was like, this feels like could be Spain or somewhere.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and just like such a huge sense of achievement when I reached John O'Groats. Weirdly, my dad's friends were up there on that same day, so I saw them at the finish. And yeah, that was the first bikepacking trip that I did. That just really,
Yeah. Memorable.
yeah,
Yeah.
very memorable. And it was also like not long. Yeah, it was memorable because like especially like up in Scotland, it was not long before that that my granddad had passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I think I got those dates right. And it was like, I remember passing the Scottish border because my grandparents on that side are Scottish. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, yeah, this is like, yeah, it meant a lot to me
Yeah.
to ride up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that kind of just, I don't know, just loved it.
Yeah.
I think it's that same thing, that satisfaction of going from A to B and using the bike as like a just tool of transport. And like the simplicity in that. Like it's the easiest thing to get anywhere by bike.
Yeah.
Like that's what we found when we scratched from the race just now. We were like, okay, so we've got to like get this to get to Jogja and then this train to get to Surabaya and then that train to get from Surabaya to there, and it'd be like, it's so much easier to just to ride your bike there.
Yeah.
And it's that simplicity and just like, yeah, the bike's the tool, but you're the machine and you're like pushing it where you want to.
Yeah. Where did you go after that? Like, did you do several backpacking trips between that and mind map?
No, just a race in Rwanda. And then Yeah, so I did the Land's End Shorter Goats in the summer. The next March or April, it was race around Rwanda, and then I left on this in August.
Do you remember when we had planned to do that trip to Wales?
Wales,
We
yeah.
bought train tickets and everything, and then I was sick.
Yeah,
I'm so annoyed that didn't
Yeah,
happen. We were gonna go do a bivvy.
yeah, because we were looking at the bothies.
Yeah.
Remember, we were going to ride from London. We were going to do it in 2 days.
Mate, we were.
It was gonna be
it was
one
gonna
day.
be outrageous.
Yeah.
It was like 300k on the first day or something,
Yeah.
and then sleep in the bothy and then
Yeah,
ride up the length then the next day
Yeah.
or something, and then take the train back from Manchester or something
Yeah.
like that.
yeah, we were just going to do this
From
big.
London.
Yeah, from London across to like southern Wales, and then ride up through Wales, which is like
We'll do that at some point.
pretty hilly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really
But beautiful. I mean,
Yeah,
if you get the right day for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that weekend it was pretty rough anyway.
Yeah, I think it was rough. I was like not well. I was so
Yeah.
annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then mind map happened. Like, what was it? It was your idea, but it ended up being like a team project with Finley, right?
No, but like as in like the making of the mind mapping. No, it's
Yeah.
Finley's idea.
It was
No,
your
the-
idea.
Was it?
The trip. The trip was 100% Boru.
Yeah,
like,
the idea to like leave and ride around the world is my idea. I remember I had this first spreadsheet which said like around the world in however many days. I just sent Finley like a picture of the corner of that spreadsheet,
Yeah,
and
I
he was like, bro, what the fuck?
I was in Girona, staying with Tom, and you sent me the picture, and I was like, oh my god.
Because I only told you, my mum and dad, and Charlie
Yeah.
at Albion.
How did they react to that? Your parents.
Yeah, they're great.
Supportive,
How can
very
you not
supportive.
react positively to that?
If you're overprotective or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
or if you've got
or-
lots of strings attached to your life at home,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to like? If there's loads of good, but like at that point, you didn't.
yeah.
There was no reason.
And that's why my dad was like, he suggested it to my mum 10 years ago, and she was like, not before we get divorced. So my dad said, just go and do it while you can, before you're tied down. So they're very, very encouraging.
That's really cool.
Still are, like, they're not like, it's not like they text me all the time
Yeah.
or call me all the time to like check in and be like, oh, how are you? Like,
Yeah.
you safe? Like what's bothering you? They trust me to be able to look after myself now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they know that like when I can't or when things go wrong, I'll reach out to them. Yeah, so they're super encouraging of it.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like being responsible to yourself, taking care of. So do you consider yourself being good at that? I mean, you are. But like you've got
Yeah.
this far. Like it's been 2 years.
2 years next week. Yeah. 2 years
Yeah.
of Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
I think
I do feel I feel like I can just adapt to anything now,
Yeah. Okay.
and
That's pretty good.
and it's giving me a big confidence that even like after this, I feel like whatever I put my mind to, I'll just be able to do it.
Yeah.
Like because in doing this, I feel like I'm proving that to myself.
Yeah.
That I
How?
can kind of make it work.
Yeah. I mean, how familiar were you with the world basically before you started that? Because like, food-wise, culture-wise, like everything has been so different for you. But like when I remember that you had a hard time in was it Thailand? Was it Bangkok? When you had to
Yeah,
when you were sick?
I've had rough times a lot of times.
Yeah. 6 weeks was it
Pardon?
of dengue?
Yeah, I got dengue in Thailand.
Yeah.
No, but that knocked me down for about like 10 days,
Yeah.
11 days.
Yeah. When did you
Of
feel?
which like 8.5, 9 days were just like
Agony.
rank.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so shit.
Because like your
I've never been
first-
that ill.
Yeah.
Never.
Hopefully, never in the future too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still 3 more strains that I can pick up. So never say never.
But like, so you
Gotta catch 'em all.
Yeah. That's what was going through my head at the time, the Pokemon theme tune.
You left London with a goal to accomplish 36,000 K in a year.
34,000.
34,000. When did that change? Do you remember?
So I never the distance-wise thing. I don't know, it got to the point where I knew it was going to be longer than that.
Yeah.
Just because I was like staying in places for longer.
Yeah.
I said, Malaysia, I rode 8,500 kilometers around Malaysia.
Yeah.
That's like about the same that I rode in Australia, and Malaysia's tiny in comparison. Like India, like a whole subcontinent. I only spent a month there, but then, in total in Indonesia, like 3.5 months last year, a couple weeks earlier this year.
Yeah.
Now again. So like I knew it would be longer, but now I don't have a number on what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it'll be by the time I get home. And like I think is when I left, I was really concerned with like what qualifies for like a round the world cycle.
Yeah.
And that was like 29,000 K, 2 antipodal points. And there was something else. As well.
Wasn't that Grenada in New Zealand when you first left?
Yeah. And there's like Singapore and Peru, I think, are pretty close.
Yeah, Peru. You talked about Peru before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought we would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
You thought you were gonna do the second.
last May's trip would be in Peru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then that just changed pretty quickly when I realized like, because I was also to do it in 8 months, and then I realized that like, why am I trying to qualify like my ride to these like weird arbitrary rules?
Yeah.
Like,
If you're not doing a
it's like,
record,
I don't believe that because I haven't done them. I haven't cycled around the world. So all of that kind of just went out the window. Because I think if I stuck to those, then I'd have had like great experiences still, but it would have been like very rushed in places. Whereas it's nice sometimes, especially because it's gone on so long. Like you get a lot of just like mental fatigue, where you're kind of constantly trying to process what's happened.
Yeah.
You're constantly getting like new things coming your way that you have to eat and digest.
Yeah.
And because you have so much coming in and you have so much behind you, it's hard to like digest it all.
Yeah.
And like reflect on everything, which is why like having the moments where you kind of pause for a bit are like super valuable.
Yeah.
And I think it encourages me to like live like right now, like in the present. But yeah, I think if I was rushing around, it would just be like too much stuff to digest.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, from my perspective, I think it was a positive change in your trip, because like I guess one of the main reasons it all changed for you, like the purpose of that trip wasn't about number anymore, because you just fell in love with Malaysia so much. You connected with a lot of people there. You have a lot of friends in Malaysia, and I guess you do too in Indonesia, right? Because you kept on coming back, even though, like, I think the only place in Indonesia, the only island in Indonesia that you went, it's a cat, that you went, you went and explored was Sumatra, and then up Java. You did Java twice, but it was Bentang Java race.
Yeah. But the second time got to see Jogja.
That's true. The second time you got to see Jogja, it was nice. We saw Bang Bang and Wendy's, a couple of friends there too. And Flores was also a race.
Not Lombok though.
Not Lombok though. Lombok was a chill one. Yeah.
I got a fucking eye infection. It wasn't chill for me. I was in a dark room trying to open my eyes, like, what's happening?
Get me out of here. After 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do that. But yeah, you got to do at least one volcano in Indonesia, which is really nice. You should do it too, man.
Well, I rode past Kerinci, in Sumatra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I didn't go up it, but I rode like up and past it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so
How
beautiful.
long were you in Sumatra? Like,
Maybe like
a couple of weeks?
yeah, maybe yeah. Yeah, I'd say about just under 2 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
Because then I got to Lubuk Linggau and then got the bus
Yeah.
to Jakarta.
Yeah. Yeah, that was exciting to see. It's like a guy pushing you in motorbike because you're trying to get to
Pushed me about 50k.
50. That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's really
and like
Must have ruined his leg.
but yeah, he just put his foot on the pannier.
I know, but like, can you like that's
Yeah,
putting
it's-
tension through his back and like.
Yeah. But he was great because I just stopped. He was like, "Oh, where are you going?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to try and reach. I think it was Bangkok. So I'm going to try and reach there before dark."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, like let's go." so I thought he was also going to
To Bangkok.
Bangkok, and then we got there. And he was like, "All right, see ya." And then he just drove the 50k back.
What?
Yeah, he wasn't. He didn't need to go
To
there.
Bangkok.
Yeah, it was just like a bit of fun. Where it's like, yeah, I like, because when he was like, yeah, let's go, I thought, yeah, he needs to go there. This is great. It's great for both of us.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it's just a bit of fun, and that was so fun.
Yeah.
I stole so many comms.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna get caught by
Yeah,
the
go-
Strava police.
yeah, go flag the
Pretty soon.
ride.
And then yeah, like a lot of people are like, including me, like because I enjoyed the mind map films, both of them. You said that you don't really,
Oh no, I like them as a moment in time,
yeah,
but it was
could've
like
been better,
the
you
whole
said.
reason why I like Brew. We said like Bruce said, okay, I'm going to ride around the world with a very cryptic image of your spreadsheet, and I wanted to. I was like just really getting into. I was trying to understand what it meant to make a film, and like
yeah,
I had no idea what I was doing or how to do it.
yeah,
But I was like, you just need to find something that you have access to,
yeah,
and an interesting story,
yeah,
and something you care about.
yeah,
And when Bruce said that he was going to ride around the world and do it for Mind and raise money, I was like, oh well, actually that makes quite a lot of sense. Like I would want to do sections of the trip with Brew just to be able to see him whilst he's away.
yeah, yeah,
I like filming from the bike at the time,
yeah,
and Brew's got an interesting story as to why he wants to do it. So I was like, oh, well, this is perfect. Like, let me think about this as a new project.
yeah,
And like I said, I'd never made anything before,
yeah,
like of that nature.
yeah.
And
So it's kind of experimental for you.
so yeah, I look back on it as like a work in progress. Like it was
Yeah.
me learning how to,
Part of your development as a
yeah,
filmmaker.
Yeah,
And I still look at all my work
yeah,
like that because
yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
because I've barely even got started on what I'm trying to do with it. But yeah, I like it as a moment in time for both of us. I feel like you also had no idea what you needed to bring with you or like what it was going to be, and I had no idea what it is that I was making, and so it was kind of just like, let's just give this a go
Yeah.
and see where it ends up. And like doing a screening, like who gave or, like us, but also me, like the audacity to think people would come and watch this thing.
Yeah.
You know,
But they loved
I
it,
have no idea.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
it seems to have gone
it was-
down
yeah,
well.
really well received.
Yeah,
Both of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
because what's his name? Richard from Herne Hill, the
Yeah.
festival.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like was asking
Herne Hill
about
Free
it.
Film
But
Festival.
I think
Yeah,
more than anything, people just the message I got was just people were happy that we just went and did it.
Did it? Yeah.
yeah.
Like, yes, of course, there's
No, but
all these
also
things that
because
could be better with it. But
It was
like,
it was
you just
captured
did it.
beautifully too. Like, and I guess it makes sense for you as the editor and the creator of that, like both of you, to be like, we could have done better, we could have done better, and I feel like that's a positive attitude, you know, like because you want to improve, and that's basically give you a motivation to do the next one if there's another one.
Yeah.
To do it like, oh yeah, I need to have a concept so I can cue the next one better and all of that stuff. I think that's a good attitude towards a project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I definitely want to finish the story off. I feel like that would be painful if there was just two parts,
Yeah, it has to be a
and then
trilogy.
it just like ended in Malaysia
Yeah.
with like, I don't know. But I think it would do it well, both of us well, and the project well, if there was like a decent chunk of time. Because there's nothing worse than making a story when there isn't.
A story.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
isn't something like
Of
really
course.
meaningful. And as
Yeah.
adventurous as like your last years have been, it would be more of like holiday picture like
Yeah.
vibe rather
Yeah,
than like a complete well-rounded story. So I think
It's better to wait for that moment
Exactly.
than try and rush something out beforehand.
don't go looking for it. Like wait for
Yeah.
it to
Wait for it to
come. And then you can kind of make something that's really worth people like going to Herne Hill or wherever it gets
Yeah.
screened to go
Yeah.
watch it.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll be there to do like a talk after it or something. Like
Yeah. Shit.
Shit.
who knows? Because yeah,
Yeah.
like why rush it when there's no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't force something and make something that you're not
Yeah.
happy with.
And that's also another thing is like the first one, I think we wanted to cover the expenses of each of the films, but like the main goal of it was never, and it still isn't, and neither of us has made any money from them whatsoever.
Got some,
In fact, we probably lost.
YouTube ad money.
No, not even.
Oh, because they weren't monetized.
Yeah,
they
they're
weren't
not
monetized, were
monetized.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which like I'm more happy about that.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't have been a meaningful amount anyway.
Yeah.
But it meant that then it means that now you haven't got like a sponsor being like, well, we need part 3 or
Yeah.
where's part 2 or what.
Yeah. There's no pressure.
Yeah, it's fully reliant on
It's just like
us then going back
Exactly.
and saying like we want to complete this.
And when I see other projects or people doing something of a similar nature, whether it's in cycling or other sports, it's always when like the sponsors come in with their own thoughts and processes that things get derailed, and it starts like having like a hidden message that is marketing related.
Yeah. Whereas like keeping things,
Whereas
we're
it's
just
literally
covering expenses. Like how
can't really
we
ask
did
for
it.
anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
So we
well,
like, or
I'm sorry,
I guess
but
you
like
kept like complete like creative.
nothing was ever
like-
changed for any sponsor.
There was no
anything.
notes given back saying, "Oh, we need this in there."
Yeah,
Like it was just.
I think it was literally just we made trailers for them,
Yeah.
but that was more just so that more people could see it.
Yeah.
So I like that, and it's given it a lot of freedom to change. And I want to see it. I want them to improve in quality. Like I want the last one to be Mark's improving quality.
Yeah.
Mainly because I like that as it's like Boru has become like a seasoned traveler and like knows exactly how he wants to go about packing his bags.
I still don't.
Yeah, but like but compared to like that, bro, you had like pots and pans in your hotel thing at the
I
start.
had like 5 t-shirts,
You
6
had
t-shirts,
so many, and then
5 pairs of shorts.
it was
That went
outrageous
to
how
3.
much stuff you had
Yeah.
at the start, and I think
all the jackets too.
yeah, and I was laughing actually when we were just arrived in Bali with Brute. It was like I also had like for that first moment I had like 2 cameras, like just disposable camera, like Polaroid camera, tripod.
But those Polaroid pictures are so special.
Oh, they are special,
They're
and
so
I kind
special.
of wish I brought it here, but with the Ultra, it made it really difficult. But but it's like I think it's nice. Like you could try and make them all consistent with each other.
Yeah.
But I actually think it's nicer seeing like it's like small coming of age of both of us.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
like me learning how to use a camera to document my friend, and then you learning how
It's
to
like- it was
navigate
like
the world
the-
and like
It was like a bigger point in like both of our journeys
Yeah.
and what we're both doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the films are like,
Yeah.
or the hopes that the third one then like follows
Yeah.
follows that, you know, simultaneously. And you can see that from the filmmaking side.
Yeah.
Like it's not a well-rounded story from any angle, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't thought out, it wasn't thought through.
Yeah.
It's not
There
like
was no agenda before.
No.
Because I was kind of nervous. I remember saying like, do we need to get this, this, and this? And you're like, no, let's just like,
yeah,
we'll just film it on certain days,
Yeah.
and then we'll like, you know, we'll tell the story from it.
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean that in itself is a mistake. I think like to a certain extent, there are bits that are better like that, but then there are also bits that you just have to like set aside time to capture.
Yeah.
Like the interviews, I feel like sometimes they're a little. Anyway.
Yeah. I was
Interviews
always
are hard.
shit at those interviews.
No, you were really good. You were just
No.
too cautious about what was coming out your mouth.
Yeah.
Not too cautious. I don't know. You just want to say what's in your heart.
Aw.
And when you weren't in the mood, you weren't in the mood.
Yeah. But I was never in the mood.
It is a hard thing to do, though.
Do you remember that one that we by that campsite in KK? We sat down.
Oh, it was
we
so
hadn't
hot.
we hadn't had breakfast. It was in the hot sun, and we were both just getting so like.
Yeah, but
I was getting cranky.
Yeah.
Then
I was getting annoyed that you
Finley
weren't
was
saying the
getting-
right answer.
yeah.
You not the right answers, but you like. I was like, bro, that's not what I asked.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And then we were like, okay.
we just stopped it. We
Yeah,
just
we're
took a breath and we were like, let's
stop
go get
this,
some bao
Let's get
buns.
some food. No, let's calm down, and then we'll come back to it.
Yeah. I mean, food always works.
I don't think we did
Yeah.
come back to it, but it was fine.
Yeah.
I think you used more from the start.
Yeah.
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 And only a little bit of that at the end,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that was a long answer. So
Yeah.
I can't even remember the question.
Yeah. I don't remember what I was asking it. But there are more stories that you wanted to tell from Japan, from Australia, and all of that.
Yeah.
Like, what's the execution like for on the road? Like, was Finley involved in that in any way? No.
No. I did the first one. You brought over one of that RX 107 that I bought off you. Because I wanted to make stuff. I was getting quite creatively bored with taking some pictures.
Yeah.
So like I'd like to try my hand at making longer videos. So I did the first one that, and then when I was in Taiwan, that's when I bought this.
Yeah.
So that I could get just some better audio that didn't sound like tinny.
Mhm.
But I didn't know like probably like took a lot of lessons from Finley's approach with the mind mappings, where it was like film what happens, and then like kind of when I felt like there was like a story that I've completed, then I'd be like, okay, that's the end point, and make that bit into the video.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed making them.
Yeah.
And it's good because it gives me a bit more context for like what Finley does, in like understanding how some things can like fit together.
Yeah. Yeah. Editing is hard, right?
Yeah, but fun. It's really fun.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing is very simple. Like, I don't have the skills or knowledge to do things in a
Like crazy transition.
I don't know, like, I don't know actually like a better way. Like it's all very simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be more complicated than it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if it was more
think
complicated, I think that would actually take away
the
from it.
simplicity
Yeah.
is better. I would like I'd like to make more of them, and I will do. But I don't like I kind of have no interest in like making a video about logistics. So it's kind of like when a story feels, or when like there's an amount of time that's passed where I'm like, okay, there is like a bit of like a storyline through that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it ends. So like the first one in Japan, like trying to go north, but then it's too cold and you have to turn south and then get the ferry over and like leave Hokkaido. That kind of like packaged itself up quite nicely.
Yeah.
Needing to get back to Tokyo.
And then like the second one then of like getting down to see my parents, and like the subsequent feelings afterwards, like in Australia, like riding the Nullarbor.
Yeah.
There was another one in Australia. But yeah, they all kind of in my head. They're like, there's like a storyline through that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever do things that's like, I don't know, like week by week, because it's just like
It's a lot.
Well, it's a lot. I just think it's a bit like for me, it's boring to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to start showing yourself like, so today I'm like doing my washing, and it's like, okay, good for you.
It becomes like a more like vloggy thing, and I'm not.
Whereas now it's more of a log rather than a vlog.
Yeah,
But also
it's hard to like capture. Yeah, it's hard to, because like I get quite confused. There's like it can get too complicated quickly, because you're like, okay, I want to get this on like the camera and video, but then I also want it on my phone to use for real. Then I also want to take a picture of it, and then suddenly it can just get too.
I hate that.
Yeah, like too many ways to record a moment.
Yeah.
That means that you end up just not.
You do nothing well.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I sent that little camera back home, because I was like, I'm not going to use this now.
You don't have that anymore.
Then I sent it back. And even with that Black Magic app, I'll probably record more and more on here.
Definitely.
Because it's just way more convenient, and like that mic on like the big Fuji, like it's so obtrusive.
People feel as though like, what are you making? You know, like what's going on? Like why are you pointing that at me?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Whereas with a phone, it's kind of like, okay, well, everyone has a phone.
Yeah. People see that on a daily basis. Like,
it gives you the tourist vibe rather than the
yeah.
And even like with stuff in Australia, like I've got so much footage from like, I remember some people commented like, oh, I'm really excited to like, because the next one was getting to Uluru. And they're like, oh yeah, like really excited to see like the Uluru one. And I've got all that footage, but there's just no storyline to it.
There'll be some use for
something in the future to use it for.
For sure.
Like
even just like,
but until then, it'll just sit in a folder.
For some reason you'll go back to Australia and maybe you're making something, or you're making like a little short film with math or something. Just something random, and then they'll be like, you've been here before, right? And it's like, do you have any footage? Yeah, I got loads. And no one's seen it, and then it'll be like, oh sweet.
Way too much footage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always good to have B-rolls.
I'm always surprised what I go back looking for. Like I went back into for the migration film, I went back into the first time I did migration, made a video for Trinity. I went back looking for that footage because I needed some like footage from that first year. So I never thought I'd be sifting through that. I mean, I did a terrible folder structure, but like it's always good to keep it.
And even like the first one of those on the roads, I recorded loads of stuff to make one in Taiwan, but like knew nothing about like what settings to use. And so like the footage just looks crap. Like it looks all jittery and jumpy and just like not good.
But then like once you figure it out, it's so satisfying, right?
And there's some great moments that I'm so happy that I've captured on like in those, like in that Japanese one, the guy who would do the national anthems.
That was so good.
With that little tune.
It's going through. I think that's what makes all the on the road things though, is just those random interactions. And for me, the less context, the better. because it's just like. Because that is kind of your day. Like you have no context as well. People just come and chat to you, and then it leads to something. And then like I really like the one where you met that guy, and you stayed at his house
in Australia.
No, in Japan.
North. Yeah.
Like, and then you're just like pushing his car, or I can't really remember exactly, but it's just like, oh, this is nice. You know, there are nice humans out there.
Yeah. I feel like the Australia one felt like. That trip was something that you were waiting so long to do, and you were there, and you was just like,
I finally got myself out of Asia.
finally, no more nasi goreng.
Yeah, fuck. It literally since Turkey.
Yeah.
Since we spent a night in that airport. Do you remember?
Yeah, in Kayseri.
That was rough.
Yeah, since Turkey, that's true.
Couldn't afford a hotel.
I love sleeping in airports, though.
Yeah,
I did the same thing when I flew out of Kuching in Sarawak. Just slept the night before at the airport.
Yeah,
there's like a night in the museum sort of like energy about it. Yeah, and like everyone else is doing the same. You're like,
it's like 3 or 4 hours where there's just really not much going on.
Yeah.
In the night. Yeah. And the night at the bus station, we did well that trip.
Yeah. Do you remember that machine playing the music outside the bus station?
The boxing one.
Yeah. We were just there like 3 a.m.
How did the tune go? I forgot.
I'll find the video afterwards.
Yeah.
Can put it in here.
Yeah.
But
I'll make more of those.
I think they're good. They're I think the simplicity of it doesn't distract audience from following this story that you want to.
I found the hardest part. It's like finding the right music. To go with it.
What did you use? Like, do you use like one of those artists?
Yeah.
You can actually like.
It takes so long to find the right thing.
You can like. You do have like a library of indie artists or whatever, like smaller bands. You can actually message them.
To ask to use their music.
Yeah, and they're not like, because like that's the advantage of it, because they're not on like Sony or whatever label, big labels.
Yeah.
So they're not tied up, and they're like, just.
I don't want singing. I don't want singing in it. That takes me a long time to pick the right, because it has to pick the right tone as well.
As soon as you got singing in it, then you got lyrics, and then you're wondering what the lyrics mean, and then you're like, does that relate to the story? Then you're going down a whole other rabbit hole.
I think my favourite track I found was the one I used for riding across the Nullarbor. That like electronic, just droning, boring.
Yeah.
Well, not boring, but like repetitive tune. Oh, so happy I found that, because I listened to that and I was like, that's the one.
Jam. Yeah.
None of the music that you find on those things are regular enough, or like they're not experimental enough. They're all just kind of like quite straight and narrow.
No, I think the one I used for the first video in Japan, I think that music was.
I can't remember.
It was more straight and narrow, but it fit it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also like.
I should start recording for the next one.
The trailers that you made for those. I remember the one in Japan after you met your parents. It was so sad.
And that home was empty, cold. It was quiet. It's been really getting to me a lot these past few weeks. And I'm feeling very isolated out here in Japan at the moment.
I messaged you after that. Did other people message you like, you okay? Because like before watching the actual film.
I was very sad at that time.
Yeah.
I was feeling pretty rough.
But in the end, it was pretty uplifting. The outro of the Japan one.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was like, shit, is he okay? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I wasn't okay for a bit, that's why.
Yeah. What was it like? Just because you being there in Japan with your parents, made you wanted to go home, or
It was just like such a high. Like it was such a great Christmas,
yeah,
such a great New Year's.
yeah,
Like spending New Year's with family in like a little like bar in Kyoto.
like one of the izakaya place.
No, it didn't do food.
Mm.
Just drinks.
Yeah.
They're playing Harry Potter on the TV in there for some reason. Like my
What?
dad brought one of his Christmas puddings. Like we lit it up, we shared it with everyone in there. Like it was amazing.
Yeah.
Don't
And
tell
then, like,
customs.
yeah, and then like pretty similar to how I felt when like I first left when I got on the ferry leaving the UK. It's like the world was so loud, and then suddenly it was like so quiet.
Yeah.
But then it like stayed quiet, stayed quiet, stayed quiet.
Yeah.
Until
Until it was loud again.
yeah, no, until I realized it's like yeah, you've got more control over your emotions in a situation than you think you do when you feel that way.
Yeah.
And then realizing that again can like pull you a bit like out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which like was going well, and then like got super ill, got a tooth infection. And it was just like get up, and it's like no, back down, back down.
Yeah. Yeah. Now your eye, boom.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's everything.
yeah, yeah. It was quite a hard thing to deal with. That,
Yeah.
but a good thing to deal with because I think the alternative would have been like a pretty quiet Christmas, New Year's, like same as the year before.
Yeah.
Where you kind of left like, what am I doing?
Yeah. 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 Back on the road, it was freezing.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I just find any excuse to stop.
Yeah.
And like, I couldn't. Like, one day I did like 14K.
Mm.
So I cannot ride any
Yeah.
further today.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so weird that like sometimes you can't even get that 14K, and then like in the rest of the day, like we're down, we're like we've been going for 10 hours already. Like it's so weird how sometimes like
Like purely mindset. Nothing to do with your legs.
your perception of the challenge in front of you changes your ability to approach it.
Yeah.
And it's not the challenge itself; it's the perception of it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess like moments like those, even the darkest ones, shape you as a person, right? Like being on the road for so long now. How do you, Finley? How do you like? Because this is your first time seeing Boru after Malaysia. Like how? Like what changed from him? You reckon?
I don't know. We always
after-
slot into
even
like
in Malaysia.
Yeah,
we always slot into some sort of rhythm. It's hard to remember.
I remember you said in Malaysia.
We're
'Cause I
both
think
way more chill now.
Yeah,
So much more chill.
way more chill.
Because like the first in Turkey, I was stressed about the film.
Yeah,
You were stressed about how fast we were going.
yeah,
Or not how fast, but like
Yeah,
the progress that
progress,
we were
yeah.
making.
yeah,
Because you still had the agenda on your mind, and like me coming was kind of threw a spanner in some of those works. Not it didn't end up. Well, I don't know. You can speak to that, but it didn't end up being like a bad thing. But it was just different to the previous
yeah.
month.
yeah.
And then in Malaysia, it was different again because you had been there for a while. You could speak the language, people knew you. And so it was kind of like, it felt more like you were showing me around, which was really nice. I enjoyed that. But it had a different vibe. And then here it was kind of like, well, it was a race. I guess I wasn't coming to like necessarily with an agenda for a film or anything. And the race wasn't particularly, although I wanted to share the race with Boru. The race wasn't necessarily important to me.
Yeah.
And I loved every minute of when we were riding, and I loved every minute of scratching, and I loved.
I love sitting on your wheel again.
Yeah, and like I don't know, and then afterwards we've just been relaxing. I feel like I don't know. I needed a break as well. I've been, like,
this is
like
your
working
holiday.
It's
quite
like the
hard.
first time you've had time off.
Yeah, and
in
then
a very long time.
yeah, in a little while, and I mean I had other time off, but like not like this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just I think it's a different atmosphere each time, so it's hard to compare them.
Yeah.
But we're definitely we're both way more
So
relaxed.
relaxed.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, when you're getting older, right? Like you want to be, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
so
I get
think-
stressed
but
about
I think,
things all the
but I
time.
think we still turn into like little kids again.
Oh yeah, no. If you like, I mean, you've been witness to our sense of humor. It's very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
It's
not the most.
Just good giggles.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's strange to be in the middle of it.
Yeah.
No, but it's good to like witness friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What about you? Just like, do you feel like Finley is different now compared to since Malaysia, or was that accurate? Like, is this more chilled? And
Yeah, I think what you were getting at earlier is that like when we're together, we kind of slot back into that pretty well.
Yeah.
Um,
I just
I
remember
feel like-
the best 24 hours being that when you were packing, we were laughing the whole, like with the mosquito net on your head whilst we were packing. Like, that was just like, we were laughing, and it's just that again.
yeah,
It's that the same sort of energy.
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, what I see differently in Finley now is like as he's progressing in what he's doing, and like hearing the stories about what's happening in Kenya and like the projects that he's got going. Like I don't know, I feel very proud. Like when you talk about it, I'm like, fuck yeah, like keep chasing it.
yeah,
And keep pursuing it.
yeah. I mean, well,
Like,
we're at a
like when
topic.
you talk about like camera stuff and like it's going completely over my head. Like I some bits I understand, some bits I'm like, fuck, like this is way more like technical.
Yeah,
But at the same, like then I can understand. But like I love the way you talk about it. Like because like again, like going back to that first, say like when you're figuring it out, to then like here, even though you say you're still like figuring it out, but you have like come so far, like since then.
yeah,
And
Got so
I think
much
that's just
more to
because
go.
of your like attitudes to like teaching yourself how to do stuff and like just figuring it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't really because well, this is the first time I met you in person, so like I didn't really have access to take a closer look in your progress, but as an audience, and I was talking to you about this before. Like the first time I saw your recap, it was a reel, I think, right? Like from of the year 2021. I was being such a geek about it too, like showing it to my friends, like look at this, it's really cool, and I was excited to see what's coming to you the year after, and then you just like you did like a lot of things after that. But a lot of centered around Tim Amani. And how did you meet them? What was that
Yeah.
first?
So I stopped racing. I was racing for a couple of years, for Trinity for a couple of years. I'd been racing since I was 12, like we mentioned earlier. And had no idea, like, cannot stress enough how little of an idea I had of what I wanted to do. And I was taking photos. I always enjoyed photography.
Yeah.
And I was still like part of Trinity. But I told the team manager that I wanted to stop in like May of a year that works on like a normal calendar year. So I still had a lot of the year left. And he said, oh, some of the sponsors, were sponsored by Specialized, SRAM, they wanted someone to go to the migration gravel race, which was in Kenya. It's the first year of the race.
Yeah.
And
that was 2022.
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the 4th edition this year. Yeah, 2021. And it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird in itself.
Yeah.
And then one of the other riders, mountain bikers, Cameron Mason, was meant to go, but he broke his elbow. So it was kind of, lucky that the slot opened up. And I went. I hadn't trained for like a couple months, like properly.
Yeah.
So I wasn't very fit, but I still had like a winter of training in my legs. Like I was still a good rider.
Yeah.
And I chatted to Michael, the same Michael that I talked about earlier, the head cheerleader of Team Amani, and Sule, and
Bless his soul.
he just like the whole concept of the team. I think what attracted me to it the most was I'd fallen out of love with like the real racing side of things, and although Team Amani is like trying to go in it's got the same destination as their goal, really trying to put riders at the highest levels of the sport. Everyone out there was approaching it with a really fresh mentality. No one had grown up with like the sock length, tan line.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's all that like shenanigans of that's like built into the culture in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one was brought up with power meters, and like everyone was just like super fresh to this concept of performance racing and had a different approach to it.
Yeah.
Some of which, was limiting. Some of which was really like, I could see like, oh wow, like why don't we do it like that? Kind of thing. And I really liked seeing the sport that I loved in a completely different light.
Yeah.
And it felt like an adventure again, going on those club runs and whatnot. So I then just became like a yes man for anything Amani, right? Like Michael then asked me after migration. We got along well at migration, chatted a bit. I was young. He knew that like I had nothing going on in my life. Yeah. And so he was like, do you want to come to Switzerland and like bike pack with these guys? Like, I'll pay for your flight. I was like, well, I've got nothing else going on.
The first bike.
Exactly. Yeah. So I came, did that, ended up staying longer because I was sleeping in his basement with Sule and Joffrey, John, Nancy. Like there was a little group of us, and we did this 3-day bikepacking trip with Marin. First time meeting Marin, who's well-known ultra cyclist. And chatted to them loads about like Joffrey, one of the Amani riders putting milk in his bottles rather than water, and I was kind of like, what? Like, here I was worrying about my tan lines, and they're doing things completely differently. Yeah. And it was their first time bike packing, like camping, and they were worried about animals and everything. We were in Switzerland, and it was like, no, you can just pitch your tent anywhere. And I just found like the whole thing super entertaining and eye-opening as to like different angles in which you can end up in the same place. And then went to Tanzania with them to promote a new race. And then I came up with the idea whilst I was in Tanzania. I was super new to video and photo, like really no idea how to do anything. And I was like, what would be really cool is like a documentary of this team, like right from the word go. And I'd already, it was already a couple of years into the project, things, had a different form a few years before that, but like, I was like, I should look into like how to do this. And then that just spiraled into what I'm doing now. I was already interested in trying to do things like that. So again, it was a bit like when I found out Boru was going on his round the world trip. It was like, okay, this has genuine meaning. I care about it, I feel like I could be endlessly passionate for it.
Yeah.
It's a sport that I love.
Yeah.
It's now a group of people that I love, and it's like, okay, well
Yeah.
what more do you need? Like,
Yeah.
just dive straight into it
Yeah.
and see if I can swim.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like that's the
And now man setting PBs in the 100-meter fly.
Not at all. I'm still like working out if I can swim or if I'm sinking. Like
yeah.
the project as a whole, like I have no idea how long it is. No idea if I'm doing things right at the moment.
Yeah.
No idea if the riders respect what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get a gist for that, but you
Yeah.
never really know.
Yeah.
No idea if it will benefit or if it would benefit the team enough. So
Yeah.
the amount of time and effort that's going into it.
Yeah.
But like, there's only one way to find out with anything like that.
Yeah.
There were so many unknowns with you going on your trip. There's so many unknowns with everything that you choose to do, and if you do know the answer, why would you do it? So
Yeah. Exactly.
that kind of mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. And next week, 2 weeks late, 2 weeks in 2 weeks they're doing Badlands, right?
Yeah, Kenneth. So I get on really well with one of the riders, Kenneth. He's got a really nice way of phrasing things and answering questions. That just makes me laugh every time. Like in a positive way, not like at him. And so he's kind of like it's definitely not a story that I want to tell. Like, even though I'm making the film, I want it to be from the perspective of someone that's within the project. He was in it from the start, and so yeah, he's racing Badlands in it's not even like it's like a week,
10 days.
10 days.
Yeah.
He's more of an ultra rider than a gravel racer now. So I kind of making an extra effort to be at some of his most important races because I feel like his story will be the most prominent in the final documentary. But he's had a tough year, so
it's gonna be just the two of you.
Yeah, just the two of us. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be in a car.
Are you gonna follow him the whole way, or
Yeah.
just like you when you did it with Mike and with Martin?
Yeah, I mean, I won't be on a motorbike. Like that'll be fun. But it's really hard with these things because it's like it might not even appear in the documentary. But like I'm going to end up spending quite a bit of money, a lot of my time to just be there, just in case. Like he might win it.
Yeah,
like he's good enough to win it, and that's like a big moment for him and his family, and the team.
Yeah,
and like if I'm not there, then what?
Yeah.
So it's like you have to just keep trusting. You have to just keep faith in in the project. And one of the things that I'm doing also is creating a lot of media for their social accounts.
Yeah.
And so that kind of makes it feel worthwhile in the short term. It's like I'm providing value to the team in the short term.
Yeah.
Not just like with this long time unknown.
Yeah.
So I'll be like taking some photos and doing some short videos as well for the team, and it helps me create mini storylines that I can then look back on in, say the film takes 4 years.
Yeah.
I can then look back, oh, that was the first year, and like I told this short story, maybe it's a 5-minute video. I'm like, okay, that was the gist of things back then, and then you use like sections of that to then build a bigger story of the film in itself. I think that's going to help. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously I can't speak for the whole world, but at least the ones that I know, a lot of friends in Indonesia who know the presence of Amani, we're just so excited for them because seeing that their progress, they do a lot of races around the world, and just like even simple things like the visuals, like all the photos, they just they're badasses basically. Like I love seeing Amani, like when they signed with Rafa, for instance, or like wow, this is really fun. I want the jersey. I want I want to.
It's grown so quick.
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually I mean, really selfishly find it so annoying because it's like yeah, I can't keep up. Like every time I have a conversation with Michael or Hanifa, who also helps run the team, you know, like there's always just like, oh yeah, so we're building this house here and we're doing this, and then oh
Yeah.
this person said they're going to give us this, and then
Yeah, yeah,
you know, and so with the film, it's just like simplifying everything because
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
root of it, it's still the same
yeah,
people,
yeah, of
so.
course. Yeah.
Doesn't matter if there's like sponsor coming in, going out, whatever. But yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm super happy. It's just you know, it's just important that it like results in something really meaningful, like not just a few individuals who are able to make it to a decent place in the sport. It's much more, and because those projects that have already done that. I mean, we've got a rider called Skabu who's from Ethiopia. He went to the UCI Centre. He rode World Tour for 12 years or something.
Yeah.
Like that's been done. It's not about proving that concept. It's about changing.
Like making that generational change.
Exactly, it's
Yeah,
generational
yeah.
change. Uh, like the pump track in E10, like building a community and a system that people can like we had at Herne Hill,
Yeah.
right? It was just so easy for us to get into the sport. It was so easy for us to see where we could go in the sport, and then it was so easy for us to do it. I mean, a lot of our friends have done it, and it doesn't seem like a million miles away.
Yeah.
But it does for all of them. Like
Yeah.
it seems like there are kids that come down to the pump track who never left E10, which is like a tiny town,
Yeah.
and like it's just like for them to even dream of going to Nairobi or to outside the country is like wild.
Yeah.
Let alone be
yeah.
like a professional athlete traveling the globe and winning the biggest bike races. Like that's just like, come on, don't dream like that.
Yeah.
But it would be cool if that became a reality. Like,
Yeah. What's after Badlands? Is there a?
I'm gonna go to. I think I'm gonna. I'm so bad at making plans. I don't know when anything is. I think I'm gonna go to the Gravel Worlds. I think they're in Belgium.
Okay.
Let's say Switzerland, Belgium.
Yeah.
And then Gravel Earth Series final. It's weird. I'm going to all these events. It's in Spain, I think. But I'm going to all these events that like. I don't really want to be there, but Amani.
You're doing it for Amani.
No, but they're just two of like I love being around the team.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If I'm there or what I'm doing. It's just really fun to be around them.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'll go back to Kenya for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? What's you're going to the US and then
I think.
are you gonna wrap this up finally
Yeah, next year.
next year? Yeah.
Or like wrap like this part up.
Living Asia.
Say more.
This part. Well, like, there's still. I want there to be a continuous line.
Yeah.
Around the world. So there's Kaiseri to Mumbai that I haven't done.
Yeah.
There's Guwahati to Hanoi that I haven't done. That's gives me Myanmar. It's like not possible. I'll do that one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, the plan would be to go to the US, ride from west to east. There's
San Francisco.
there's still potential that I won't yet leave Asia because I might go over to the Philippines to do Gravelton, but that's not like plans for that aren't set in stone yet.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I do miss home. I worry that part of my missing home is going to be really like anticlimactic when I get there.
Yeah.
You know, having like spoken to Finley about what it's like when he goes back. So I'm not really sure that like the plan would be they're still to ride the US to then fly into Morocco, probably like do a little loop around there before going back into Europe, going to Ireland, finishing with Ireland and then like going back to the UK.
Yeah.
Ireland's important because
You're Irish.
yeah, and it feels, yeah, like I would love to explore Ireland in the way I've had the opportunity to explore other places.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I kind of had in my mind quite a while ago that I'd finished with that. And then with what you said the other day, I was like, yeah, it has to, it has to finish with that.
What about the part 3? The film?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like, it would be great for both of us to ride there.
Yeah, I rode Tour of Ireland, but I would love to bike pack Ireland. Because like stopping in, especially now, like stopping in some random places and just having conversations in English, like and being able to communicate like that.
Yeah,
it would be so much fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is weird because like at first I had in my mind, like when I left the UK, I'd get back to Calais, which is like the port in France, and then get the ferry over to Dover. But now it's going to be coming from the other side and getting the ferry from like Ireland into Holyhead and then riding through Wales.
Yeah.
Skirt around Birmingham, and then get back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hopefully some point next year, and then like get on a flight straight back here for Bending Java 2025.
Yeah.
Like, hey everyone, see ya. See ya.
Hello again.
Yeah.
Like you met like a couple of people on the road during and after Bintang Jawa, and you're like, yeah, I'm coming back.
Yeah, but it's like when there's an event that you just like that is like very well organized, great, or like a great team putting it together, great people riding. Everyone's like in the same boat, except for those who aren't.
Oh.
And yeah, like I said to like Reefer, like you know, and the other organisers, they've made like a family with it. And it's so hard to finish it and not feel like, oh yeah, like I want to do that again.
Bintang Jawa itself is like seeing it again as an audience, because I can't really relate to the ultra race stuff because I haven't done it before. But yeah, I remember last year coming to Banyuwangi was for you, Bang Bang, Natasha, Rifki, Edmund, because we were gonna do those 2 waves. That was like, hey, let's meet up.
Yeah, the team.
Miss them. But like, being there was I felt acceptance, because they're not just talking about, oh, that was a great race. Like, I mean, they did talk about, but it's because they experienced a lot, like you experienced a lot. So, in like 83 hours. 85 last year. But yeah, it's just being in that community, hangouts, and like I remember
hanging out at 12 bars.
12 bars. Shout out to 12 bars, whatever.
Shout out to 12 bars.
But
best coffee shop in Banyuwangi. The only coffee shop in Banyuwangi.
In Belambangan. But yeah, I love being there, and but do you think you're gonna travel around Java, bikepacking around maybe in the future?
Yeah.
Whenever?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe ride next year and then ride back to Jakarta and do it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet. It'd be nice. I'd like to see Surabaya. I'd like to see Dr. a bit more, Solo, Malang. I'd like to see all those places.
Well, I guess it's also good to plan it for the future, because you got like friends now there that you can visit and all that. So I think that's it really. I don't really know how to end this. Okay, bye.